What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, Team Crawford, undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. 38 wins, no loss, no draw. 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach. He is expected to take part in the biggest fight in the sport of boxing before the year is up, between himself and undefeated, unified 3-belt welterweight WBC, WBA, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 2 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, if not the #1, in Errol the True Spence Jr., who is 28 wins, no loss and no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout. He is 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach at 32 years of age. With that said, Team Crawford is stating that the holdup between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence coming to fruition before the year is up is simply not the rumors and reports that Terence Crawford is asking for too much money and pricing himself out, but the fact that you have Errol Spence not being held accountable for him pricing himself out and asking too much money for this fight. Now, like I stated earlier in the live stream that I did, that's Showtime President of Sports Stephen Espinosa, in which Errol Spence showcases his talents on the Showtime network. He's signed with with Showtime and with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman, in which, that's where Errol Spence, he showcases his talents on. And Terence Crawford is a man without a land. Okay, Terence Crawford is now a free agent. He has parted ways with longtime promoter, legendary CEO, top-ranked CEO Bob Arum at ESPN, and he's now a free agent. And it seemed like it would be much easier to get this fight over the hump now that the obstacle that was, viewed as to be the biggest hurdle, which was Bob Arum, top ranked at ESPN, bringing the two networks together, and Bob Arum has been removed, and it seemed like it would get easier to get this fight over the hump into fruition, and it seems like it just gotten harder. Okay, so Stephen Espinosa, he said there's a 50% chance the fight happens, 50% chance the fight don't happen. When the chances of the fight not happening is as high as 50%, and more than likely the fight is not going to happen, right? Now, this is a fight that the fans are clamoring for. According to Stephen Espinosa, both fighters want this fight. And Stephen Espinosa, he said the money is simply not there, okay? The pot is not there. We've heard this before. Back in January, you had PBC spokesman Tim Smith. He had came out and he stated that the money is not there. He don't know if the fight was coming to fruition. Everybody was hopeful when Tim Smith made those comments back in January of earlier this year, and that the money would somehow appear and the fight would come to fruition. We know Errol Spence, he then fought April 16th in Arlington, Texas, AT&T, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, against WBA former welterweight world champion, Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas, in which Errol Spence, he got a 10th round stoppage victory over Yordenis Ugas. And Errol Spence immediately started pursuing and started to get the ball rolling on the biggest fight between himself and Terence Crawford. Post-fight press conference, post-fight interview in the ring, he called out Terence Crawford, said, "I'm coming for that belt." Errol Spence is on record saying that his #1 objective is to secure a fight with Terence Crawford and ultimately just secure that last belt, the last piece to the puzzle of the goal he's had from day one, and to become undisputed. And that gave people even more hope. Not to mention Terence Crawford, he had faced off against 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter, who was signed with the PBC. But that was a case of the WBO ordering Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford, and went to a purse bid that saw Terence Crawford get 60-40 split in his favor. But the fact that you had the PBC and ESPN doing business, it just gave hope that when Terence Crawford is a free agent, it would be even easier. Well, it didn't get it much easier. And now Team Crawford, they stated that the money's not right in their offerings, and that, that's the holdup. If the money was right and everything was on the up and up, Terence Crawford admitted that to his team, and his team, they relayed the message to the fans that all goes well, they'll be fighting in November, as it has been being reported. Well, now the fact that Stephen Espinosa, he says the fighters still want it and they haven't given up on it, is more important than anything, which is an indicator that the powers that be behind the scenes have given up. Stephen Espinosa stated that the fighters haven't yet given up. So if the fighters didn't give up, who gave up? You understand? More importantly, Stephen Espinosa is the network. So he hopefully didn't give up. And hopefully this fight comes to fruition. But Team Crawford is saying that Errol Spence needs to be held accountable for asking for too much money. Now, you can't say Errol Spence is asking for too much money because he's clearly the A side in this entire equation. Okay, he's clearly done the bigger numbers between the two fighters. He's done the more successful pay-per-views. He's done more better, successful live gates. He's just overall, have more success when it comes to drawing power with the fans. So he's clearly the A side. In 3 combined pay-per-views, we know Terence Crawford has reportedly done about 350,000 pay-per-view buys. Well, Errol Spence did 350,000 pay-per-view buys with just one of his 4 fights, and that's the fight with 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Mikey Garcia. So again, you can't say that either guy is pricing himself out because we just simply don't know what the pot is. Okay, the pot could be $10 million, $20 million. It could be a $20 million pot. And what I mean by pot is, what is the pot of money that is being offered to be split into percentages? Meaning that it's Showtime and the powers that be are saying, listen, we have a $20 million pot. You guys have to divvy it up however you so choose best to be fit. And Errol Spence is saying, I want 60-40 of a $20 million pot. And let's say he's saying he wants $13 million. Was Terence Crawford going to accept 7? I'm hypothetically speaking. For the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, of course he would not. So what's more important to try to be privy of information is what actually is the pot, before we go saying Errol Spence is overpricing himself or Terence Crawford is outpricing himself, because maybe the pot is just not being fair for both fighters. Okay, we know the pot for Canelo Alvarez, 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer, who's the undisputed super middleweight. The pot for him to sign with the PBC was $120+ million for 2 fights. That means he would have got $50 million a fight. Now they broke it up to $45 million to fight Errol Spence and $55 million to fight Jamal Charlo. That's $100 million. Seeing his opponents make at least $10 million at the very least. So that's 2 fights. That's $20 million. That means the pot for Canelo Alvarez to come to the PBC would have been around $120 million. That's not the biggest fight in boxing. The biggest fight in boxing is Errol Spence, Terence Crawford for undisputed top 2 of the 3 best pound for pound fighters in the world for undisputed, and they're both undefeated in the prime of their career. It's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. And it would be, I'm not saying they have to get a $50 million pot, a $100 million pot, but the pot should be respectful for both guys. It should at the very least be a $40 million pot. Not saying that they have to be $20 million to Terence Crawford and $20 million to Errol Spence. But hopefully the pot is respectful to both guys' accomplishments and talent, and the fact that this is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, with the hopes that the fans will support this fight. But Team Crawford is now saying that Errol Spence needs to be held accountable for asking for too much money, which I find that pretty hard to believe. Errol Spence is not going to milk the pot when he knows that in order for him to secure this fight, the biggest fight in his career, his biggest legacy fight, after missing out a few times, he has to sacrifice something. I would think that I did the numbers earlier on the live stream that I did. You could go back and check that out. And I discussed their numbers combined of over 500,000. Okay, so you say if Terence Crawford did, you know, if Terence Crawford did, you know, 150,000 with Sean Porter, Errol Spence did his highest was 350,000. You take both guys' highest pay-per-view, combine them, that's 500,000 in pay-per-views, right? And then you times that times $75 per pay-per-view, times that 500,000, and you get $37.2 million. Right? That's how much revenue they expect to bring in based off their highest numbers. Well, that would put, if you got both guys asking for 20 million, that would put the promoters network in the hole. Right? Let's say if they want 20 million, that's 40 million. Now, if you have Errol Spence, live gate was $5 million. His last fight with Yordenis Ugas at AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and he did 40,000 seat arena. So you factor in the money that's the revenues the gate is going to garner, $5 million. Well, that would give the networks and the powers that be a $2 million profit. You take that $5 million, add it to the 37, that will be 42 million. And if you gave Terence Crawford 20, you gave Errol Spence 20, you know, that means the networks would have profited $2 million. But now if you up that price of the pay-per-view to $100 instead of 75 times that 500, you know, it significantly increases to $50 million. Okay, so now that means the networks and the promoters would profit $10 million. But the key is the fight would have to take place in Texas because that's where it's proven. So I don't think that it's Errol Spence. I think that it's the pot overall. Stephen Espinosa is saying that the money is just simply not there. Hopefully this gets done. Hopefully there's agreement made, and hopefully we see Errol Spence and Terence Crawford in December. In November. Well, that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shouts out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.